Good afternoon, everybody. Thanks for joining us today at our IAEM Conference Committee presentation on tips for a successful speaker proposal. My name is Dwayne Hilgans. I'm the chair of the IAEM Conference Committee. I'm joined today by Chris Donegan, Tony Hauser, Krista Lopez, our vice chairs, and Julie Huss, the staff conference director. If each of you want to say hello now, and we'll let you speak a little more later. Chris?
Good morning. Yeah, good morning, good afternoon, everyone. Glad for everyone to be here, and hopefully this is some good information for you, and looking forward to the conference this year.
Hey everyone, this is Tony Hauser. Thank you for taking the time to be here today, or if you're watching the recording, thank you for learning more about how to submit a successful proposal for us.
Krista?
Hi, everyone. Krista Lopez. Hopefully we can answer all your questions today, and if not, we're available later, but we're excited that you're joining us.
And Julie.
Yeah, hello, everyone. This is Julie Husk. Welcome.
All right. Thank you, everybody. So during this webinar, we're going to cover, as mentioned, the submission process. We're going to do an overview of the online submission portal. And then we're going to do our expectations for what we look for when we review proposals. So our goal here is to try and develop the best possible program for our conference. And we recognize that it's our speakers that really give us a successful conference every year. And so one of the things I really want to emphasize early is that you should try and be creative, right? Use your imagination, use your creativity, come up with your story, whatever that may be. You know, think about tasks we as a profession never thought of maybe in the past as in our lane of travel, which now are firmly on our plates and seems to be growing on a day in and day out basis. So how can we develop ideas and education based upon these items that emergency managers are being tasked to accomplish in our role? So be unique, be creative, be imaginative in your thinking, be that black swan, so to speak, of speakers. So we'll share the recording with everyone who registered, and it will also be posted on the IAEM conference website under the speaker pages in a few days, as soon as the recording goes through its system here. So we'll welcome all your questions. And as we go through the slides, please feel free to send your questions to us via the little question box, the Q&A box at the top there. Julie will be monitoring that for questions. And at the end of the webinar, perhaps we've answered your question, but if not, or if you have a specific situation, we will answer those questions at that time. We'll also open it up to other questions. We'll be looking at that Q&A box, and we'll have time for that. So I'm going to also encourage all of you, as Krista mentioned, if there's something that we didn't answer well for you today, or something you think of 5 minutes after this, or 5 days after this, or whatever, please reach out to us. You'll see our contact information on the last slide. So as you see, we have the above in-person and virtual opportunities to speak. So obviously our conference this year will be in Long Beach, California, the 6th to 12th of November. And then prior to the conference every year, we have the early editions series of speaker series, and so which will be a couple Tuesdays and Thursdays leading up to the conference. I say this to you because you can choose, and Julie will explain this a little bit later, that maybe you don't care if you do virtual or live, or maybe you can only do live, or maybe you can only do virtual. So we set it up for you. So there will be check boxes on the speaker agreement of the submission form to select which speaking opportunities you're submitting for any of the above. So do that when you're going through. Think about that. The beauty of it, as will be explained later, is even if you do the early edition, it gives you the same benefits. Everything's the same other than you're doing your presentation before the conference rather than at the conference. So this helps us as we go through the speaker selection process. Again, maybe you're not able to get to Long Beach, but that doesn't mean you can't present at the early edition pre-conference. So we're striving to provide opportunities for everyone, no matter what your situation.
All right. So on the breakout speaker information page, you will find the benefits and responsibilities of being a speaker at the IAEM annual conference. It covers topics such as registrations, final slide document review, submission deadlines, and CEM credit. If you are selected for the virtual speaking opportunities, many of the same benefits and responsibilities apply, including speaker registration, certification credit, and the speaker liaison to work with you as you develop your presentation. The speaker submission guidance is hyperlinked on this page, and it is your key and a must read for all speakers looking to submit a successful speaker proposal. I urge you to review the guidance. It was developed by the conference committee to provide all the requirements and tips for a successful speaker submission. Many of your questions can be answered by reading this guidance. No matter which speaking opportunity you are submitting for, we're asking you for the same information. Included in the guidance are steps for navigating the online submission portal and a listing of all the required fields on the online submission form. We suggest before you submit your proposal online that you gather the information needed and draft this information with character limits in Word. This is really important. There are character limits, and I cannot tell you how many submissions we see that get cut off because they have made that limit. So you want to make sure your proposal will fit those limitations. And remember, you don't need to fill up each field with the maximum characters. Sometimes less is more. Many of the issues speakers encounter when submitting their proposal is inputting information that exceeds that character limit, as I had just brought up. Please, for your own peace of mind, draft your proposal in a Word document first and verify the word count is within the limitation for the required field. When checking word count, select character limitation numbers, including spaces, as required by the online submission form. Drafting first and verifying word count will make your submission process smoother and quicker for you. So this is our deadline, and it will not be extended. So please plan accordingly. So as you see, it's February 13th at midnight, Central Standard Time. And don't wait for the deadline to submit. Get in there early and make sure that you're not rushing at the end to get your proposal in. A lot of times people are having issues at the very last minute, and unfortunately we can't extend the deadline. Due to the large number of submissions and limited session slots, even submissions that score well may not be accepted. Bring your A game and put all of your effort into one high quality submission. Submitting several proposals does not increase your odds of being selected. One quality cutting edge submission is the best way of getting selected. And if you are selected, all those that are selected will be notified by May 1st. Our speaking sessions are 60 minutes, including questions. Please plan for 45 minutes for your presentation and reserve 15 minutes for Q&A at the end. Anyone who submits must comply with the no logos feature. This is very important. We understand that your organization may not agree. However, we would like to remind everyone that the IAEM conference program is a platform for professional development and earnest learning, not for sales. If you have a product or service that you like to sell, we suggest that you exhibit in our EMEX exhibit hall at the conference. Again, this logo is very, very important. And as you're working to get your presentation put together, your liaison will be reviewing that for logos. All speakers will have a speaker liaison, as I just mentioned, and that is a member of the conference committee. They will introduce you and your session with the introduction provided in your submission. Your speaker liaison will also be a timekeeper for your session and alert you when needed, when time is running out. I will also say for your, as you're doing your introduction, less is more there as well, because remember, the more that your liaison is having to introduce you, the less that it's going to be given to your presentation. So it's not time to do your full resume when you're doing that for when you're putting together your introduction. And I will now turn it over to Tony.
Sorry, minimized the wrong window. Thank you, Chris. So the conference committee requires presentations that are specifically developed for the IAEM Annual Conference audience and for the theme of the current year, which for 2026 is charting through preparedness, anchored in resilience. And the topics listed here are for both the annual conference and virtual pre-conference speaking sessions. However, this is not a complete list. They're more big picture concepts. So earlier, Dwayne mentioned being creative and thinking about the things that we do that we may not have done in the past. So like we've had conference sessions on reunification, which is a very important topic. I did my master's thesis on it. But what about reunification that is not as part of a school event? So affects an open population. You know, how would we handle those types of events? So thinking outside of that box helps us bring in the diversity of ideas that we're talking about in bullet number 2 on the screen. And the theme is for concept, but does not need to be used in the presentation title. Each year, we have a lot of submissions that have really long titles because people think they need to include the conference theme, but this isn't the case. We have asked speakers to shorten their titles in order to make the title more readable and accessible. Each year, we provide the latest information and best practices in education, training, and leadership for the entire profession and for those allied professionals that attend our conference. We strive to have the very best conference with the best speakers presenting the widest range of topics, which assists in educating everyone from the student to the new emergency manager, from the new leaders to the seasoned and crusty veterans. So whether an attendee is coming for their first conference or for their 25th, we want to always provide the best possible experience, one that is new and engaging and refreshing to all the attendees. We also want to make sure that we're educating and training from a global aspect, since we are an international organization. So whether you're an international member or have experiences to share from a global perspective, we are looking to highlight our international responsibilities. Finally, we need to study the past, live in the present, and be prepared for whatever the future hands us. Whether you are an emergency manager or an attendee from a related or collaborating profession, the sessions that IAEM offers cover the entire spectrum of what we do and what we are expected to do every day in partnership with our community.
So this is the online speaker submission portal that's linked to the IAEM database. To submit a proposal for a breakout session, you need to log in to IAEM.org. If you don't have a record with IAEM from any past activity, you'll need to create a record first. You do not need to be a member to submit a proposal. Once logged in, click on the Dashboard tab of the menu ribbon, then click on Membership Dashboard on the left-hand side menu, and then select, as you see here by the blue arrow, Speaker Submissions. It will then pull up the portal with all the various information we are asking for. As we mentioned, the call for speakers opened this past Friday, January 9th. It will close on Friday, February 13th, as Chris was saying, right before midnight, Central Standard Time. So please don't wait till the last minute. As was mentioned earlier by Chris, you read the speaker guidance. It has everything that we are asking for in the speaker submission portal, every field, every character limit. It tells you about the speaker agreement, as we were talking about before, Dwayne was, as far as we have different opportunities. You can select in-person only, you can select virtual only, or you can select both. But that helps us, as we were mentioning, in our selection process. There's not a save function in here, so plan ahead, get all your stuff, all your information, all your drafts of your abstract, your title, your bio in a Word doc. So all you got to do is copy and paste. It allows for quick entry in there. We know we're all working, we're all busy. All of a sudden you start and somebody pulls you away, and then you've lost everything because it will time out and then you have to restart all over again. If you're incomplete, our system does not, like I said, does not save it, so incomplete proposals will not be submitted. There's one point of reference I'm going to mention, which is new this year, or a new thing happening this year, not new this year, but on next Wednesday, the 21st, our membership database is going to be down for a couple hours. So if you happen to be submitting in the morning, you might get shut out. It's supposedly only down for a couple hours and will be back up in the afternoon. There will be an email reminding everybody that goes out on the Tuesday before about this, but just in case something happens, the world hasn't crashed, it will be back up shortly. So please plan accordingly.
So here we have listed some of the main information that you'll need for your submission. Again, we recommend you draft your proposal in a Word document and check the character limits prior to logging into the submission portal. I can speak from personal experience that it will save you time and frustration. And also note that the character limits include spaces. That was the big thing that threw me off, was that I didn't know that it included spaces. So when you're doing your word count in the document, make sure you're referencing the number where it includes spaces in that count. For the title, 100 characters is still a long title, so feel free to be creative and judicious in your in determining what your title should be. And the session introduction should not be a duplication of the speaker bio. It should be a short introduction of the topic of the presentation, and then briefly providing some background on the speaker. Attendees will be able to read the full bio of the speakers in the online program. All the required fields and their character limitations are listed in the speaker submission guidance document. You can also log in to the speaker submission portal to view all the required information without submitting a proposal. Then when you're ready, you can go back in and enter all of the information. And as Julie mentioned, keep in mind that there is not a save function in the submission form.
So as Dwayne mentioned at the beginning, and we all introduced ourselves, the conference committee is quite large. We are just the leadership, but we are composed of our members here at IAEM. And we conduct very fair reviews based on the quality of submissions. That's so important to us. But we do welcome new speakers. A lot of times we hear, are there people who are favored or whatever have you? But we do provide you equal access to all present here at the conference. And so we've provided this guidance for you to use. We also recognize that everybody has different skills. So you may or may not be comfortable with speaking, or you may not have spoken at a national conference yet. So we take that into account when we do the reviews. For those of you who have never spoken on a national stage, think about reaching out to one of us. That way, as you prepare your submission, we can provide you feedback along the way. The better your submission is, the better chance you have of getting selected, basically. The last two bullet points here concern those who are accepted. So if you are accepted, once you have submitted, and you've put your proposal together, know that the conference committee will work with you to develop your session. Your liaison, who will be assigned to you, will review your slides and help to make sure it meets our standards. And if you get selected, we may ask you upon selection to focus maybe your presentation on something that we saw in your proposal that we'd like it to narrow in on. We may ask you to collaborate with someone. Maybe there were 2 submissions on the very similar topic, and we feel like you could be co-presenters together and really benefit the audience that way. And so we do pride ourselves on the level of personal attention and respect that we give to our speakers all the way from the beginning to the end. Let us know if you're not hearing from your speaker liaison, but they all will reach out to you and make sure that you're coached along the way. We again want to emphasize that new speakers are welcome and all speakers will receive support while developing their presentation. The speaker submission is chock full of helpful tips and covers the requirements for a successful submission, as Julie was talking about. So remember to double check your proposal for typos before you submit. I will tell you I'm a personal stickler. I kind of question how good of a presentation can you do if your submission isn't well edited. So know that that's something as reviewers look at submissions. We want to make sure that the proposal you put together is of the quality of the presentation you plan to give. We are a professional organization and we expect a work product that is professional and a finished product. So the selection process. I joke with everybody that we should do a meme about like what everybody thinks we do versus what we actually do. Our committee each year has been fortunate to have so many great submissions. I'm talking hundreds of submissions, and we probably can accept maybe a third of those. That's not to deter you from submitting, but it's just to let you know that we do get really great submissions, and we're looking forward to yours for sure. So as we go through those submissions, we're looking for the best of the best, but we're also looking for diversity in topic, right? We want to make sure that we are reaching as much of our audience and attendees at the conference as possible. And so we want to make sure that we're not having sessions all on the same topic, but that they complement each other across the span of emergency management topics. Our goal of the conference committee is to make sure all stakeholders that interact with emergency management can come and find educational and informative content to our conference to meet their needs. I do want to highlight the third bullet. It is so important. You have a story and you need to tell it and we want to hear it. So give us something that's compelling. I have given and I've listened to a lot of presentations over the years, and I've discovered that those that have been received the best are those that have a compelling story, something that's interesting, maybe even a little entertaining to a point. I will tell you that listening to someone's story and how it connects to the product or what they're trying to share with us, not product wise, but like product in the work that you do, that is so important. For example, if you are sharing about a example from your agency of when maybe things didn't go so great, or maybe when they did because you had put certain measures into place, that story will mean so much versus telling people what they should do, right? Think about how you want to learn. You have a story, you have the knowledge, and you have the capability to make sure we see it in your submission. And then the template. So our speakers that are selected will be provided an IAEM slide template for them to use for their presentation at the conference. If you work for an organization and you have a logo, those logos are allowed on the first slide and on the last slide. It's the only place where you can put logos or the name of the organization. On the first slide, you will insert the title of the presentation, the speaker or speakers' names. And on the last slide is where you list all your contact information and allow the audience to reach you. The slide template is required by all speakers. So those selected for whether it's in person or it's our pre-conference virtual, you will all be provided the same template to use. We are strict about using the slide template and only allowing speakers to insert their logos on the first and last slides. We cannot allow our conference to be a platform to promote companies or organizations. So of course, someone in the audience is probably wondering, how do the logo rules apply if the proposal is about a program or unit within a specific logo, like America's Preparathon? If this is you, please make sure you just talk to one of us and we can advise you accordingly. Hopefully that's helpful. Dwayne, back to you. We're going to entertain any questions now. So if you have any questions, let us know. And Dwayne, over to you.
All right. Thank you, Krista and Chris and Tony. Most important thing in the world is to unmute before you start talking. Let that be a lesson. So a couple questions I see. I'll look at the Q&A first. So they're talking about defining a breakout presentation speaker. And as Tony said there, we have different types of speakers. So to us, a breakout session is one of these 1 hour sessions. So we have several different types of presentations at the conference. We have posters, we have the EM Vision talks, and then of course we have these breakout sessions. All the other sessions, these are the ones that you apply for, if that makes sense. We do have plenaries that are not something somebody would apply for. And we also have spotlights, but again, that's something that we plan separately. They're a little bit different type of presentation. So hopefully I answered your question, Wesley. I'm going to see, Richard says, I've been speaking with Mike Sharon about doing a 2-day pre-conference training disasters. I've done it at Cal, blah, blah. Is there a separate submission process? Yeah, so for a pre-conference, Richard, just email Julie and I for that. That is different than what we are doing here. The only downside is you talked about Mike Sharon, so nah, just kidding. We love Mike. Looking at the chat, the presentation is recorded. Can you submit a proposal as 2 speakers for the same session? Yes. Chris answered that. I joined a little late, so you've already addressed this. Can you submit more than 1 proposal or any themes? So if I'm at Rachel currently, Rachel Porter. So we do have our theme, and you'll see that in the speaker guidance. You can go online and get the speaker guidance. You can submit more than 1 proposal, but as we stated during the presentation, as we say every year, I think last year we had somebody that submitted 6 proposals, and I think sometimes people feel that if they hand in 3, 4, 5, 6, that we'll just take one of them, and we do not do it that way. As the committee and the folks that are here with us, the chairs, will tell you that we take the very best. So if you have something that is your absolute, really put your effort and work into that. We're trying to get the very best. We're not like, well, they put in 6, so we'll take one of them to make them happy. We don't do that. In fact, we've had some speakers that have found that out, or some people that put in to speak that have found that out. So not saying you can't put in 2, especially if it's 2 very unique and different topics and something that you're very passionate about. No sales pitches, no rush or sloppy proposals, or any other big no-nos we should avoid. This is you telling us and our attendees a story. This is you helping our profession by things that you know, things that you've learned, things that you've trained on, things that, as Krista said, sometimes went good and sometimes went bad. That's really what we're looking for. I think the hardest thing about this, and the others can chime in, is the fact that we get so many very, very good proposals, and we have, but there's basically 77 slots, and so we can't have 20 presentations, as was mentioned, on like leadership, right? And so we are literally looking for the best of the best, the most unique, the most variety, if that makes sense. We're looking to not just help our profession, but other affiliated professions that we all work with on a day in and day out basis. So I don't know of any other big no-nos. I mean, if you send me $100 in an unmarked envelope, that's probably a no-no. No, just kidding. But yeah, quality for sure, as Tony says, over quantity. The theme is our theme that's online. I think I missed one though. Examples of submissions. We don't actually, I don't think we have well, we wouldn't share what somebody else submitted to begin with. It's all confidential. And I will say this to all of you that everything that we do in this conference and the conference selection process and speaker process is completely confidential. We don't share this with anybody. In the past, we have been asked to said, hey, can you share different people's proposals? We don't do that. We're confidential. We're confidential for a reason. We think it's only fair to those of you that submit that you're submitting for our conference. So we do not share that. In fact, we don't share it outside of the conference committee, not even with the board. Everything that is the conference committee for the speaker selection is confidential within the speaker selection process. Yeah, as Michael said, or as Krista said, and the other thing along that line is, all of us on this call have helped people in the past. Like if you have specific questions or you're thinking about specific things, here's our contact information, reach out to us. Almost every year, probably each of us has, either gotten on a call or gotten on some emails with folks that have some questions about stuff. There's no like 100%. If you do this, you're a shoo-in. I mean, as Krista said, we'll get 350 to 400 submissions, and we'll take about 80. And so, we're looking for the very best of the very best, and that's what we get. And some of you, I'm sure, have presented at the past at our conference, so thank you for that. But be unique, be creative, figure out what that thing is that you're passionate about and you want to share with our attendees at our conference, and that will go light year. I mean, we can like Chris, well, everybody has said it. We can kind of read the passion. We literally read through all of these abstracts, and there's a process we go through. And then 8 of us will lock ourselves into a room for a week and pick those final 80. And it's a back and forth thing. It's tough because there's a lot of good presentations. And I'd like to think, and I think the others on here will agree that we get the best of the best. So I don't know, Krista, Chris, Tony, anything I'm missing on that you're thinking?
Dwayne, actually, I was just going to put something in the chat, but I was thinking, for example, there's been a lot of conversation this year on alert and warnings and like grants management with some of the changes at the federal level. So I can see a lot of people submitting on those topics, which is awesome. But we may get like 10 or 20 really good submissions on those. We're not going to be able to have 10 or 20 of those particular sessions because we'd miss out on the diversity. So to Dwayne's point, I don't think there's a one-stop shop approach to submitting for a session because we don't know how many of one particular topic we're going to get. And we have to, not just look at the quality of the presentation and the engaging matter of it, but also how many other sessions like it we get.
Yeah, 100%. And then I just saw in the chat a preference towards more single speakers versus panel speakers. I will say this 100%. This is one thing I can say 100%. If you submit for a panel of 5 or 6 people, and probably even 4 people, we have a very challenging time with that. We have literally, as you heard Chris, I think, say earlier, you have about 45 minutes and then 15 minutes for Q&A. And so if you think about it, if you got 4, 5, 6 panelists up there, what's everybody going to get? 2 minutes after the presentation or after their introductions and whatnot. So if you are thinking of 2 people works well. Obviously, 1 person works very well. 3 people, boy, you get past 3, it makes it really hard for us to try and figure out, not that we don't have panels of 4 people sometimes, but boy, it makes it so much tougher when you start to put a lot of people in the front of the room together. I hope I got them all. I'm not sure if I got them all. Chris or
Hey,
Krista,
Dwayne,
Tony. Go ahead,
yeah,
Tony.
something similar to that was a question in the Q&A around do speakers have to be emergency management practitioners? And no, they do not. You know, as long as the content is related to emergency management or how we do emergency management work. So, you know, if there are subject matter experts in something that has to do with how we do emergency management, then you know that's great. That's awesome. We love subject matter experts and other people that we can learn from.
Yeah, 100%. And a couple of us have said this. This, as you all know, right? Our stakeholders are far and wide, right? It's not just emergency management professionals. And so oftentimes we'll bring in people from critical infrastructure that may not be emergency managers, or maybe somebody that, whatever affiliated profession. And obviously if they're your stakeholders and somebody that you and they have worked on something together, yeah, let's bring all the voices. That would be perfect. So appreciate that very much also. Thank you, Tony. I see there's another. I'm trying to. If your proposal is not selected this year, you can resubmit the same proposal next year. We have had that happen in the past, and we have also had people that have used a proposal a couple years in a row, and where it might not work out this year, certainly could work out next year. Round table style sessions allowed. Those are tough in a 45-minute session, to say the least. We did have we struggle with them again sometimes. Not saying it couldn't happen, and maybe we could make it. Krista, Tony, thoughts?
Yeah, I think that part of that depends on timing and what day of the conference, because that impacts engagement and how burnt out all the introverts are. But and it also depends on the content. So it's not, necessarily a yes or no. It's a, submit a proposal and we'll see if it works.
Thanks, Tony. Appreciate that. And Christopher said about a pediatric track. One of the things that in years past, and depending on how long you've been around this great profession of ours, we used to have like 6 or 7 tracks, and that was emergency management. And now we have 7 million focus areas because of everything that we do, and we're the new demands that are put on us on a day in and day out basis. So we've kind of got away from the tracks, but we do still have the focus areas. We do. One of the things, and I can say this, and Chris and Krista and Tony can attest to this, as well as Julie, when we get to that final speaker selection, we literally divide out everything that we think may be a potential speaker for the conference, and then we start putting them down into interest areas. And so again, that's where we go back to the whole, if we have 20 that are in leadership, and 1 or 2 or 3 that are, I don't know, in whatever, recovery and something else, and public information or pediatrics, as mentioned there. Once we go through and we pick the very best of the best, then we go through and divide them out to make sure that we have the widest diversity of speakers and topics, if that makes sense. Not speakers, but topics. And then we start to fill in the board from there. So so we're not doing specific tracks anymore as much as we're just trying to get the broadest possible education and training possible for our members. Other questions? Put them in the chat or the Q&A. I think we got them all. If you guys have been watching,
I think we got them all, Dwayne.
Thank you.
And folks, our email addresses are up here, so please email us with further questions or set up time to have a conversation. We'd be happy to do so.
Well, I don't see anything else being populated. I want to thank my co-chairs and Julie, our director, and all of you, especially for being on this today. It'll take a day or so to get the recording ready, and then there'll be an email coming out letting you know that you can go back. And I mean, I'm sure you're going to want to come and listen to this another 10 or 12 times. All the great stuff that Tony and Chris just said. Maybe this will be one of your favorite soundtracks or something. But anyway, thank you for being here, for attending. We look forward to seeing all your proposals. Again, any questions whatsoever, right there you see it. You see our contact information. Please reach out to us, and we'd be happy to work with you, because our goal, as every year, is to put on the best possible conference for our attendees. This year being in California is always, it's a great venue. It's always a good time. So thank you, everybody. Thank you to my presenters and to Julie. Julie, final thoughts?
No, I appreciate everybody attending again and reached out to us if you have any questions. Again, all speakers, whether you're accepted or not, will be notified by that May 1st deadline.
All right, Krista, final thoughts?
Don't make us wait till the last minute, y'all. I know life is really busy right now, but get your submissions in early, because we all sit on the edge of our seats. And we may have a little contest in the background to see exactly how many might submit, but for real, don't wait till the last minute. You'd hate for something to happen and you can't get that submitted.
100%. Tony?
Pay attention to details in the submission form. So the word count, but also what content goes in which box. And especially in the abstract section, if it could be paragraphs instead of one big block of text, that's always much appreciated.
Thank you, Tony. And Chris?
Yeah, I just appreciate everyone joining us today. I think, it's been said multiple times, that we get a lot of submissions. Please don't get discouraged if you don't get picked this year. Definitely keep coming back. As Dwayne said, and or maybe Krista was, we don't have like a set group that just comes back. We want to get as many people on the stage as we can. So just don't get discouraged if you don't get picked, and we're looking forward to all your submissions.
Thank you, Chris. And I'll end with this one thing that'll build off what Chris just said. We literally keep a list, and we have for the last 6 or 7 years, of who presents. And so if somebody has presented a year or two in a row, and we have somebody else, we will put that new person ahead of them for that reason, because we do want to give as many people as possible the opportunity to speak at our conference. So thank you all very much. Have a great rest of your day, and we hope to see all of you, if not before, in November in Long Beach.